Just over 2 weeks ago, I released the long-term review on the Triumph T120 Bonneville. Now, as you might have gathered from the title to this video, some of this is an update on resolution of some problems that I've had with the bike, and also an update on some problems that are still yet to be resolved. Now, those updates are going to come at the end of this video, so if that's the only reason that you've clicked onto this video, you might want to fast forward to the end now. Now, the other reason for doing this video is that at the time I purchased the bike, I actually spent around about £2,000 on various bolt-on accessories, and I wanted to go through each and every one of those accessories just to give you an idea as to whether or not they're the kind of thing that you want to buy and bolt onto your bike if you already have one or if you intend buying one. Now, it wasn't really possible to cover them all in the original long-term review, so what I've decided to do is break them up into bits, and for today we're going to look at the Triumph cruise control. Now, this is a £250 add-on accessory, and basically all you get is a modified switch housing which has one extra button to what the original housing actually has. And it can be distinguished by this little button here with the usual cruise control symbol on it. Now, I'd never thought of having cruise control fitted to a bike until I had my last bike, which was the BMW R1200 GS Adventure, and I actually found it to be a very useful accessory. Now, there are advantages to having it that you don't actually consider until you've actually got one. We live in a world now where the roads are simply full of various types of speed trap and speed cameras, the latest being the average speed camera system, which is designed to catch out even the most law-abiding riders. It's easy for your speed to creep up above the legal limit without you realising it, the result being that if you're not careful, a week or so later you get a fine through the door and some points on your licence. Now, the cruise control obviously does help with that because you can set your speed to the legal limit and you don't need to worry about creeping over and getting yourself into trouble. But I think it also is a safety feature. Now, it's not just me that thinks this, because I have heard other people complaining about it, and that's that in order to keep our licenses clean and our bank accounts from being emptied by the local authorities, we all spend far too much time now looking at our speedometers. And this is valuable time that we should be using to observe the road. And obviously the great thing about cruise control is that it takes care of that for you, so you're left free to concentrate on the road without fear of going over the limit. Now, in true German fashion, I always found the BMW cruise control to be a little bit more complicated than it actually needs to be. And although the Triumph version is a little bit more simple to operate, I actually find it a lot more intuitive to use. Press the cruise control button once, and what that does is it simply activates the cruise control circuit. A little icon will come up on your right hand LCD display informing you that it is actually live. You then set the speed with your throttle and press the button again. This then engages the cruise control and a green light will illuminate on your rev counter to tell you that it's active. A third long press will deactivate it, but also engaging your clutch or touching either of your brakes will also turn it off. Now, this Triumph version is a little bit different from others in that if you accelerate, i.e. you want to overtake a vehicle, it reads that you no longer need the cruise control and it disengages the cruise control. Now, this is useful because if you have the cruise control engaged for long periods of time, with other systems they allow you to overtake and accelerate, and then when you release the throttle it returns it to the speed that you've set it at. The problem with this is that you can actually forget that you've got the cruise control on, and if you do need to stop in an emergency situation, it can be disconcerting when you shut the throttle off but the bike continues to travel at the same speed. And in that way I do actually prefer Triumph's way of doing things. The other thing that I'll mention is that when you do disengage the cruise control by braking or by touching your clutch, it's not a very abrupt power drop. It seems to drop a little bit more gradually than other ones that I've come across, so you don't get that sensation that you're suddenly about to go over your handlebars. The other great thing about the Triumph item is that it takes gradients into account while you're riding. If you're going uphill, you can feel it accelerating in order to keep the speed at that constant level that you've set it at. Also, when you're going downhill, you can feel some engine braking, so the bike is obviously interpreting that you're creeping over the speed limit, so it's throttling back to compensate. So to sum it up, I think Triumph have got this cruise control absolutely bang on. £250 is quite a lot of money, but I think the added comfort and safety that it gives you is worth it. Now, yesterday I went to A1 Moto in York, which is actually my nearest Triumph dealer. It's not the dealer that I bought the bike from. And I have to say the guys there really have pulled out all the stops in sorting out some of the issues that I have with the bike. As you might remember, the clocks had a constant problem with moisture getting inside, even to the point where the warranty replacement also leaked. So they have now replaced that with a third set of clocks, which I'm assured won't leak, and that'll be the end of the problem. We'll see what happens with that in due course. I've also had the wiring loom for the fuel pump replaced, which was part of the recall that I mentioned in the last video. That's now been done, hopefully. Again, that's the end of that. Now, a few people did mention in comments that there's also been a recall for a sticking throttle rubber caused by the heated grips. I'm glad to say that my bike wasn't included in that recall, so I'm not expecting any problems with that. The moisture in the headlamp does seem to have sorted itself out. Again, I'm going to keep an eye on that and see what happens, and I'll let you know if there are any developments. Now, A1 Moto is Yorkshire's premier Triumph dealership. They also have a great little coffee shop with a fantastic atmosphere that is the perfect place for convincing your missus that you do need another bike. It has a spacious showrooms that are very well appointed and a fantastic stock of new and used motorbikes. Now, I was allowed a sneak peek at the bobber, but I wasn't allowed to take any photographs or footage, so you're just going to have to wait until tomorrow when the bike is released. The staff are all friendly and helpful, and I don't think you'll find a warmer welcome anywhere else. They've also got a superb range of clothing and accessories for every occasion. Now, finally, this horrible squealing from the front brake under low speed braking. Triumph told me a few weeks ago that they did now have a fix for this, in that it was a new front wheel assembly which was designed to stop the resonance that was causing the squeal. Now, they told me that the parts had been manufactured and they were waiting for it to be signed off. Unfortunately, A1 Moto didn't know anything about this, and when they contacted Triumph in my presence to ask them what the state of play was with this, they were told that the parts had been manufactured, the warranty replacements had been signed off, but then right at the last minute, the rectified assembly started to squeal again. Now, I found it hard to believe that in the last year Triumph has been able to design and build 3 completely new modern classic models, yet it's been unable to sort out the problem of brake squeal on an existing model. Now, the way Triumph are behaving, it reminds me of a lad I used to know at school. He never used to do his homework and it was never handed in on time. Now, when the pressure was on and he was down to his last chance, he would always come to school saying that his dog had eaten his exercise book and that was the reason he couldn't hand in his homework. And just as the teacher never believed him, I don't believe Triumph at the moment. There's no doubt about it, they're turning out some fantastic bikes and they really are aiming for the top, but they have a very cocky and complacent attitude when it comes to warranty claims and customer service. Now, back in the 1960s with Meriden Triumph, Edward Turner had a very similar attitude, and as he discovered at Triumph's expense, customer loyalty is a very frail and fragile flower, and if you continue to neglect it, it will wither and die. I think the time has now come for Triumph to stop patting itself on the back over the success of its modern classic range, and it's time to start looking after its customers. Otherwise, there's a distinct possibility that history may repeat itself. Right, I hope this video has been useful to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.